During that time, it seemed like maybe they had it on a couple of times, and that was it.
Well, the reason I was asking, that was a long time ago.
Right.
And now we're in 2014, and you still have some memory of what you saw. I was wondering if it had made an impression on you, such that maybe you had some kind of a fixed idea about what had happened based on what you saw.
No, because I didn't really know what exactly happened.
Didn't see or pay that close of attention to it. And so when you were asked just a few moments ago if you could come here as have a kind of a clean slate and just listen to the evidence, you're comfortable with that?
Yes.
You haven't attached any kind of guilt or innocence to Ms. Schenecker based on this case?
No.
Okay. Many people in America hear the term innocent until proven guilty, but it's a real thing. Schenecker is innocent. You can look at her and think of her and treat her as such until such time as maybe evidence comes to convince you otherwise, if it does.
Yes.
And you're not philosophically disturbed by that at all? You're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. And again, no opinion one way or the other about guilt or innocence in this matter?
No, because I don't know anything about it. I try to hold judgment until I know the facts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step up. No motion.
No motion, Judge.
Number 158 indicates knowledge.
It uses in the
Thank you, ma'am. You can sit down, and we're going to allow the attorneys to ask you some questions, and I ask you to respond in a strong voice for us.
Okay.
Your Honor, at the outset, it's kind of unusual, but may I approach her and ask her about the differences in the names on our forms without going into her names on the record? Go ahead. This is a little unusual.
Yeah, I know.
And you know where I'm going, ma'am. Wanted to make sure we had it correct.
Approach, Judge.
Got it? Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, ma'am. A few minutes ago, you indicated to us that you had some information or enough source about this case when you came to court. Is that correct?
Yes.
What was the source of that information?
The news media, television, newspapers. I remember the case.
Was that information you learned from near the time of the incident in 2011 or recently or both?
No, just 2011. And a few days ago before, I knew I had to go to jury, I saw something that the case was going to be coming up.
Did the recent report have any report about the alleged facts of the case or investigation?
No.
Just that it was coming
In fact,
up?
I just sort of heard peripherally, just that it was coming. I just recognized the name, that's all.
Okay. Do you recall about how many reports you may have read or seen back in the 2011 period?
I probably just saw it on the 6 o'clock news and probably saw a newspaper. Just, that would be it.
Okay, ma'am.
Not a lot.
Do you recall the information, the synopsis that Judge Battles gave the entire panel a few minutes ago? Okay. The judge also talked to you and the entire panel about the presumption of innocence, meaning by our Constitution, the jury's starting point has to be she's innocent until proven guilty in court by the state of Florida with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. With that in mind, can you tell us everything that you recall about the reports from the newspaper and the TV that you saw that had information that was in any way different than what Judge Battles told you, or that was in addition to what Judge Battles told you? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I do. I don't think there's anything, I just, like he had said, the husband was deployed serviceman, and that's about all I really know. That there were two that were killed.
Okay. Did you see in any of those reports or the newspapers, any type of still photographs or any type of video that showed images of the defendant?
Yes,
What were that photographs or video?
it was a video.
And what was the context? What did you see?
I think I remember seeing her, I believe it was in a courtroom or in a courtroom or something, if I recall.
And describe for us what you saw her doing, or how she was,
She
her
didn't
demeanor.
seem like she was very well.
Okay.
I just recall that.
What do you recall about her appearance?
She was shaking and just seemed a little incoherent.
Did you draw any impressions or conclusions about her state of mind at that time, whether or any issues on sanity or competency of concerning her at that time?
She just did not seem well. That's all I can say.
Okay.
I didn't know why. I mean, I don't know why, but she did not seem well.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Did you draw any inferences or conclusions as to her guilt or innocence as a result of anything you saw or read in the news?
I don't believe so, other than she was found there with the children.
Okay. As we mentioned a few minutes ago, the starting point for the jury has to be, and for you as a juror individually, has to be that she's presumed innocent. That's the starting point. That doesn't change until the state proves her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt by evidence in this court. Can you assure us that you can base a verdict in this case solely on what you see and hear in the court during the trial?
Yes, I believe so.
Can you give her that presumption of innocence that we talked about repeatedly?
Yes.
Is there anything about what you saw on the news that you think may prevent you from being a fair or impartial juror?
No, just except for the fact that she did not seem well, so I just...
And if you could, articulate or tell me how you think that may affect your service as a juror or your ability to be fair and impartial.
I don't think it's going to make a difference in terms of the information given to me throughout the trial, because I don't know why she wasn't feeling well. I don't know. There could be many different reasons why she wasn't well, and I don't have that information, so I can't make one decision or the other.
Okay. And do you think you're intellectually capable of compartmentalizing? What I mean by that is setting that aside and basing what you hear on the evidence you hear in court.
Yes, I believe so.
All right, thank you. No questions.
Counsel.
Judge, I have no questions.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step out. She's actually in the courtroom.
Then no motion.
No motion, Judge.
Number 159 indicates knowledge.
So good evening. I see there red.
Yes, ma'am, you can have a seat right there. We're going to allow the attorneys to ask you some questions. Please respond in a strong voice so they can hear you out here.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
You indicated that you have some knowledge or information about this case that you brought to court with you. Is that correct? Meaning you heard it before you came to court, that's what I mean.
Oh, yes,
Not that you visit,
right.
yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Judge Battles gave the panel a synopsis of this case a few minutes ago. Do you recall him doing that?
Yes.
All right. And he also talked to you and the entire panel about the fact that the law presumes the defendant to be innocent of the charges leveled against her, unless and until the state of Florida proves by evidence in court her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes,
Do you
I do.
accept that, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. With that in mind, I want to talk to you about what information you saw or heard about this case, okay?
Yes.
Was the information that you received from whatever source, was that something recent or closer to the time of the events or both?
Both.
What was the source of your information?
Paper, daily newspaper.
Did you see any broadcast news about this that you recall?
Yes, but longer ago, I mean, a long time ago, the broadcast news.
Okay. Did you see any photographic images or video images of the defendant?
Of
Or the defendant?
Yes, I did.
What's your... Yes.
Yeah, I saw her being walked in a hallway or something by, surrounded on either side by two deputies, and she was quite shaky and she needed help in walking down this corridor. That's the image I recall.
Did you draw any impressions or opinions from those images as to her state of mind at the time or her guilt or innocence?
Well, as to her state of mind, I thought she looked terrible, and I felt bad for her, actually, seeing her in that, I don't know, that unusual state of mind. It was unusual to me. As to her guilt or innocence, no, I really don't. I really can't say. I do not have a feeling about that.
Okay. Can you tell us what information you've heard or learned of from the media that is in any way different from or in addition to what Judge Battles told you a few minutes ago?
I don't recall anything.
Okay.
No.
Do you remember any of the details about the reporting of the incident itself?
Yes, when it happened, or soon after it happened, I do recall some of the details, or I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but yes, I think I do recall some.
And what do you recall as you sit there today?
I recall she went to pick up, I believe she went to pick up her son from some kind of a sport, baseball or something, and she said something to him, and then as he got in the car, I think that's where she shot him. And I think I recall that she went to the young lady's, the young daughter's bedroom, and where she was in her room, and shot her there. But that's most of what I remember.
Do you remember anything else about her contact or interaction with the police during the investigation as a result of those reports?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you remember anything else reported about the defendant's state of mind or history in any fashion?
I recall that she was supposed to have some mental issues, was not very stable. And I remember thinking that I felt bad for her because I know her husband was not even in the country as a military person. And I know that young teenagers can be tough to deal with. And I remember thinking that could make any adult parent, any adult or a parent, have a hard time dealing with young teenagers.
Have you formed any impression or opinion of the defendant's guilt or innocence as you sit there today?
I'm not sure what you mean. I do have a feeling of whether she's guilty or not.
Okay. Yes, please, tell us about
I
that.
think she shot her children, but I'm not, well, that's the feeling I have, that I do believe that she is guilty of having murdered the 2 children.
Okay, and it seems just from your... I don't mean to badger you, but it seems from the way you thought that you kind of self-edited after you... Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess I still felt bad for her because I know how difficult. I don't even have any children, so that's not the reason. Just from what I see and hear around me, I felt not having a spouse to help handle children who are, and I remember the word mouthy was one of the words that she described, one or both of them. I remember thinking how difficult it must be to be mentally unstable for whatever reasons, and then to have the burden of caring for, 2 teenagers has got to be tough on a person, a woman, a mom.
Do you believe that the opinions that you hold would affect your ability to serve fairly and impartially in this case?
I was afraid you were going to ask me. I don't know. I think they might affect me, but I truly do not know.
Okay, thank you for your candor, ma'am. No further questions.
Any questions?
You, a moment ago, expressed that you have an impression that she's guilty of killing her children. And it sounded like you were trying to have an addition to that, or some kind of extra statement to that. Is there some reservation you have about your own opinion?
Well, I feel sort of bad knowing that Mrs. Schenecker's right there and talking like this in front of her, I would think would bring up lots of awful memories. So I do feel uncomfortable with that.
I appreciate that, and we all do. Just want to ask you though, this feeling that you have, do you feel that you could set aside that feeling and just listen to the evidence that's presented to you in the trial, as the judge suggested? In other words, kind of be a clean slate and listen to witnesses and see what they have to say and
That's what
make
I
up your
don't
mind?
know. I thought that's similar to the question I just answered, and I really just don't know. I think I would have a hard time
Okay.
separating how I felt from the evidence, the cold, hard, facts. I just don't know.
So what you're saying is you have a pretty strong feeling that you still have,
Yes,
even as we speak today.
yes, I do.
And that is that you think that she's guilty of killing her children. That might be something you find hard to dismiss and set aside.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step up. She's actually in court.
State has a motion based upon pretrial publicity and prior knowledge.
Sir?
Judge, I stand silent.
Extreme hesitation, equivocation, acknowledged that she had a hard time. So I'm going to grant the state motion as to number 159. 160 indicates hardship and knowledge. You can have a seat, sir. We're going to allow the attorneys to ask you some questions.
Sure, thank you.
Speak up in strong voice as you respond, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. You indicated that service on the jury might or will present a hardship to you. Could you explain for us, please?
The only problem I have right now is just I've been working nights for the last 9 years. My sleeping schedule is just a little bit hard for me to pay attention. But I probably do change the schedule of my work before if I wasn't selected to get back to a routine of waking up during the day.
Okay. You don't have a financial hardship as a result of this?
No, sir.
Kind of a body clock
Yes.
situation, and do you think that that's something that could be achieved, a change in your work schedule?
Yes.
Okay. So you think that that hardship can be resolved or at least limited, so to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any concern that that would affect your ability to focus and give us your attention on the evidence?
Possibly.
Okay, and tell us about that. What do you...
Just feeling tired.
Okay. All right. You know yourself much better than we do, of course. Are you the type of person that it takes a long time to adapt in changes in your life schedule, your body clock, so to speak? Or is it something you can readily adapt to?
I just noticed it this week when showing up here.
Okay, you need to speak up a little bit for us so she can hear you, sir.
Sorry. Just noticed it just this week how difficult it was for me to wake up at the time to come up here.
Okay. Have you been working this week?
Yes, I worked yesterday, but they allowed me to come in and work during the day because I knew I was going to be here.
Would they require you to work while you were actually serving on a jury panel if you were selected?
Yes, can you repeat that question?
Yes. Well, I guess simply stated, if you're selected on this jury, is your employer going to expect you to show up and work after your jury service?
No, sir.
Okay, so you can at least give us the focus of your time so you won't have to rush out of here to go to work or come from here from work. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. You indicated you have some information that you learned about this case
I've seen it on the news
recently or in the past?
recently.
What do they, from what source? TV or?
TV.
Okay. And do you recall Judge Battles reading a synopsis or summary of the case a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Okay. Judge Battles also spoke about the constitutional right of anyone who's accused of a crime, including Ms. Schenecker, to be presumed innocent. That's the starting point. And her presumption of innocence stays with her up until the point in time that the state of Florida, the prosecution, proves her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt through evidence in court. Do you understand that?
Correct. Yes.
With that in mind, tell us everything learning from the news that is any way different from what Judge Battles told you, or is in addition to what Judge Battles told you. Do you understand my question?
Yes. Pretty much. I don't remember everything that I saw on TV. I just remember her shooting her two children.
Okay. Did you see any video or photographic images of the defendant in those broadcasts?
Yes, sir.
What do you recall about those?
Where she was handcuffed and escorted by deputies, and that she was trembling and shaking.
Sir, did you draw any conclusion from that image about the defendant's state of mind, her sanity, or competency at the time of the incident?
Yes.
What did you conclude, or what was your impression?
She looked she looked crazy.
Have you formed any opinion about her guilt or innocence as a result of anything that you saw on the news?
No, sir.
Okay. The opinion that you, or impression that you drew from the mental image, is that an image, or excuse me, an impression or opinion that you still hold today?
Yes, sir.
And how strongly do you hold that?
It's 80%.
Okay. Do you think that impression or opinion would affect your ability to fairly and impartially consider the evidence presented in this case?
No. It should be okay.
Do you think that would in any way affect your ability to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No.
Okay. If you have a few days lead time to serve on the jury, do you think that would affect your ability to get your body clock right?
A few days would be good enough.
Okay. Is there anything about what you learned or saw on TV that you think would affect your ability to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Just a moment. Well, I'm just trying to ask questions if you wish.
Judge, I have no questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step out. Please exit the courtroom.
I have no motion.
No motion, Judge.
Number 161 indicates some knowledge.
We'll just have to see on the red edge.
Before you came into court, is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
And what source did you gain that knowledge from, sir?
I had come from work when it was on the news, 6 o'clock news last 2 years ago.
Okay, was that near the time it occurred or recently?
Oh, the time when it occurred, not recently.
Okay. Did you see one was it television news?
Yeah, it was television news. And then the next morning when I went to work, also in the morning we had a discussion about it for a couple of minutes.
You discussed it at work?
Well, it was a couple of minutes, yes.
Okay, and what was the nature of that discussion?
Well, just like watching a sports game, Monday when you go, you all discuss what happened. So, it was an open discussion for brief moments before we start working, for probably about 5 minutes.
Did you discuss the fact that you were going to be a potential juror?
No, not at all.
Did you discuss the investigation?
Not at all, just the raw news, just the local news.
Okay. Did you know at the time of that discussion that you were a potential juror in this case?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay. Tell me about what you recall seeing in the news at the time of the incident.
The news was briefly when I entered the house. I think it was the tail end that we just mentioning it. So the next morning when I went to work, I saw the paper. Normally, that's when I...
Okay.
But
Can you tell me everything that you recall seeing and hearing in the news that was in any way different from or in addition to what the judge told you about the case a few minutes
no,
ago?
it wasn't different. It was the same. No opinion, just that what happened. Yeah.
At any time, did you see any photographic pictures, images, or video of that showed the defendant?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you drawn any opinion or conclusions about the defendant's guilt or innocence as a result of anything you saw or talked to people about?
No, sir.
Okay. The Constitution says Ms. Schenecker is innocent until proven guilty by evidence in the court beyond a reasonable doubt, can you give her that presumption of innocence?
Yes,
Okay. Can you hold the state of Florida to its burden of proving her guilty beyond a reasonable doubt?
yes, sir.
Is there anything about what you saw on the news or what you discussed with your fellow employees that would affect your ability to serve fairly and impartially?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Trainer?
Good afternoon, sir.
Fine afternoon, sir.
If I understand you correctly, you had just kind of walked in on the tail end of a news broadcast, and that's how you first became aware of this incident?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember exactly what was offered on the remainder of the news broadcast that you did watch?
It was just a news question that some children have been killed, and it wasn't that much. So,
Did you, for example, learn from the news broadcast how they supposedly were killed?
no,
Did you learn from the news broadcast who was supposedly responsible for the killing?
no, I wasn't sure. I didn't till the next morning when I saw the newspaper.
Okay, so the next morning when you went to work, I guess you looked at a newspaper article as well?
Well, I didn't read it deep, but I just read, the headlines.
Just the headline? You recall what newspaper that was?
I think the Tribune.
Tampa Tribune?
Yes, it does.
You recall what the headline said?
No, I can't. It's over 2 years now.
And I take it that, from what you just said, I would take it that you did not read the article? You just looked at the headline?
I look at the headline and we just discussed it briefly for a couple of minutes before we start working.
Well, now, and what was the framework of your part of the conversation? You mentioned you had a discussion. I take it was with some coworkers?
Exactly.
Okay. What did you offer in the conversation with the coworkers?
Well, I didn't offer anything, just that I just told them I just walked into the house the previous evening when I heard the news, but I didn't hear much about it.
So you offered in the conversation essentially what you told us today.
Yeah,
Just walked in at the tail end of it.
exactly.
Did you express at any time during that conversation any opinion?
No, sir.
Do you in fact have an opinion today as to what happened? Do you have any standing impression of guilt or innocence?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you picked up any more information even recently in bits and pieces from the news or from papers about the upcoming trial? Have you picked up any more details?
No, sir. I haven't read the paper.
Okay. And the concept of presumption of innocence, anyone at the beginning of a trial, and possibly all the way through the trial, but certainly at the beginning of the trial, is innocent until such time as evidence tends to show otherwise. Are you comfortable with that principle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as we speak, our client, Ms. Schenecker, in your eyes and in your mind, she's innocent?
Exactly.
And you have no details in your mind that would tend to overshadow that at this time?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. You may step out.
Thank you, sir.
Panel members exit the courtroom.
No motion?
I have a motion, Judge.
Why don't we go ahead and give our court reporter at least 10 minutes just to take a brief break. Stand up.